is More Development Theory by Alma. Gilligan is the creator of the More Development Theory for women. She has been recognized as a pioneer for gender studies. She obtained her master's in clinical psychology and a doctorate on social psychology. She was born in New York City and worked along with Erik Erikson and became a research assistant for Lawrence Kohlberg, who later she criticized. She has received numerous awards for her work on women moral development. Gilligan was influenced by Lawrence Kohlberg's theory of development, who his primary focus was on men. Gilligan did not fully agree with Kohlberg's theory, who believed women were not capable of reaching the same levels of development as men. Gilligan by no means meant to differentiate men and women. Instead, she wanted to prove women and men had similar moral development. According to Gilligan, men think in terms of rules and justice, and women are more inclined to think in terms of caring and relationship. Gilligan developed 3 stages and 2 transitions to help explain women's moral development. Gilligan wrote in a different voice, which outlined the development stages and transitions of her studies. Gilligan viewed the moral development as a process. It encompassed 3 levels and 2 transitions. First level, self as separate. The transition was connection and responsibility. Level 2, self and connection. Second transition, the judgment. Level 3, morality of non-violence, which we can also call it non-harm to self and others. Let's break them down so we can go ahead and see them by levels. Level 1, orientation to individual survival. The self becomes the object of concern. Nothing else matters but what is right for the individual. Wants and needs are needed to maintain the self. So let's see, for example, a woman who is contemplating getting a divorce. In this stage, Gilligan believed that the woman only sees itself and has no concern about anybody surrounding her. Basically, what I feel is right is the correct decision. During the first transition from self to responsibility, idea of responsibility and care are integrated, validates her claim to social membership, shifts from independence and selfishness to connection and responsibility. So the woman that's contemplating divorce, she begins to think of her family, her husband, and other individuals around her, and if she has children, her children will be affected by her decision of getting a divorce. This brings us to the second level, self and connection. The individual begins to reflect on conventional values. Goodness becomes the overriding concern. As survival is now seen to depend on acceptance by others within a patriarchal definition of feminine goodness, giving up own judgment to keep a place in society. Make a decision in order to please others. For example, the woman might stay on the marriage to please the children, the family around them, and even the husband. She will give up her own decision to make sure that she keeps her family happy and connection with society. She does not want to be judged by others for her decision, as she may be seen as selfish. She now begins to think more in a social way. In transition 2, from goodness to truth, individuals begin to question why they should value others' opinion. They struggle to compromise the significance between care and hurt. For the first time, the individual views examination of her needs as truth, not selfish. Self-for-self honesty. The individual in this stage begins to see itself as it really is, a part in society. They begin to also wonder why they need to make everyone happy when they are not as happy. They begin to search for self-honesty, and they begin to actually ask their questions, why should I care about others? Of course, they also think that they don't want to hurt others, but they don't want to be hurt themselves, which brings us to level 3. nonviolence. In this level, the individual begins to look for outcomes that will leave them feeling good about themselves. They begin to recognize the power of making choices that benefit themselves and leave them good, feeling good about themselves. They begin to respect themselves. They dissolve selfishness and responsibility. The individual recognizes the power to select among competing choices and keep her needs within the mix of moral alternatives. In this stage, the individual begins to connect herself with society and also begins to make decisions that will benefit her as the individual. She basically seeks for decisions that will not harm herself and will make her leave and will make her feel good about her decision, regardless of the outcome. Now we're going to go ahead and apply the theory to an example so we can further understand the theory. Gilligan used contemplating an abortion in her book, A Different Voice, to explain further her theory. We have three women that are currently pregnant. Each of them are contemplating an abortion. Woman 1 is in the first stage, which we can also call as perspective 1. She is in what Gilligan would call a selfish stage. She believes that her decision should only affect her and she should make the decision regarding herself. In this level, her interest is herself and no one else. The woman justifies her decision by stating that she's too young to have children and not prepared, and that there is absolutely no way out, which the only solution is abortion. Between women 1 and 2, there is a first transition stage, which takes place, which makes the woman begin to think about others that will be hurt. She begins to question herself as how will she be rejected by society if she goes and has the abortion. Excuse me. This takes us to level 2, which can also be called perspective 2. Woman number 2, who believes has a duty with society, family, and partner, even if it's not the best decision for her, preventing hurting others is her focus of a decision. Woman number 2 does not want to be hurt, but the caring that she has for others is a little bit bigger than her own concern. She cares for others and makes her decision based on the care of others. Her solution might be not to have an abortion, even if she doesn't feel she's ready. She feels that by having an abortion, she might hurt others more than herself. Between women 2 and 3, there's a second transition. Woman 2 will begin to think, me versus others. She will begin to question why she should please others and not herself. She will look for solutions where the others and herself will not be hurt, where others and self will not be hurt. In level 3, or perspective 3, the woman begins to think that society is not as valuable as she is. She begins to evaluate the decision and calculate self-harm and harming others. She comes to a decision that will benefit herself and won't cause harm to others. She evaluates past experiences. In this level, Gilligan explained that women make a decision based on past experiences. For example, if this woman had already had one abortion in the past, she might feel that her decision in the past was a good decision and she might go with the decision as well this time. The women in this stage believe that they are more important than society and they shouldn't feel pressure to make others happy than themselves. Their decision could be to abort or not. What feels right is the right decision for the woman. This can also be applied to diverse student population. Liz is a Hispanic student currently in her sophomore year of college. Liz is very close to her immediate family, and when her mother becomes ill, she is required to leave school to attend her mother at home. Liz could be classified as level 2. She is in between her duty to society and family and herself. She hates to leave school, but she has a duty to attend her sick mother at home, since she feels responsible for what is going on. As future student development professionals, this theory can help us understand gender difference better and be able to help create effective programs and groups for the future students. It can also help us understand male and female interactions. It can help us model effective moral development and promote unity and self in others. It can also help us with culture diverse individuals. It can help us avoid misinterpretations. It can help us understand decision making, know what is seen as valuable for others, and we can also have appropriate interactions with others. By being able to understand these students, we will have a better chance to have an impact on the student and have an effective and for them to have an effective time during college. Like other theories, the moral development theory has weaknesses and strengths. Some strengths that the development theory has are that they evaluate the moral development of women, which other theories might not do. It can be used in any given situation. It applies to any individual regardless of gender and culture, and it provides evidence that contradicts Culver's undeveloped idea about women. Some of the weaknesses about the theory are that not enough data was given in the research. Samples used were too small. It only focused on women. And some individuals believe that it diminishes women by ensuring carrying responsibility in vulnerable. Others criticize that it cannot be applied to urgent matters, as women have to step up from the situation and contemplate the whole thing. Gilligan wanted to present a helpful explanation of women's moral development. She also wanted to prove women are capable of effective moral development.